Hey guys, it's Tanner here with Fresh Start, and today's video is going to be introducing a series on weight loss that is to come in the future. Before we get started, I just wanted to say I'm not your doctor, not yet anyway. So if you hear anything that you're a little curious about, interested in, maybe want to try, not a bad idea to talk to your doctor about it first. So let's get going with today's video. First up in the list of 6 is the topic of what is weight loss? Now I know that sounds a little silly, but before we dive into this, I just want to go out there and say right out the gate, weight loss is a very simple term. And I think most of you are probably thinking fat loss, right? But in general, there's 3 different categories of weight loss that I want to talk about. The first one is scale weight. Scale weight is whenever you step on the scale, it changes. Now every day that's going to fluctuate for some people as much as 5, 6, 7 pounds every single day. And that can be a little discouraging, which is why in Fresh Start, I don't want you to step on the scale every single day. If you do, I want you to write that number down and at the end of the week, take an average. That's a much better approach and it's quite a bit less discouraging. The second category that I want to talk to you guys about would be water weight. Water weight is something that you probably heard fighters or wrestlers, or they talk about that. That's what they usually cut a few days before, and that is primarily responsible for the scale weight and why it fluctuates so much, because most of us aren't hydrated. And when we eat foods like carbohydrates and things of that nature, we put on more water. They're osmotically active. You can call them that. They just draw in water to your cells, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but when your goal is weight loss, it can be discouraging. Now, the third topic that I want to talk about is fat and muscle loss. So fat loss is what everybody wants. That's probably what you all think about whenever I say weight loss. Muscle loss, nobody wants that. And as we get into this series, I'm going to show you how to prevent muscle loss while encouraging fat loss. And for some of you, especially in the first year of training, muscle gain is possible with fat loss. It gets a little trickier near the end, but for the sake of this, I just want to prevent you from losing muscle while continuing to lose fat. So let's go to the next topic. What controls weight loss? Now I have a few things down here, but I'm going to list them all out, and then I'm going to go a little bit more into detail for each one. So we have metabolism, hormones, activity level, resistance training, diet, fasting, and stress. So before we get into stress, because that's one we have every single day, metabolism. Now, metabolism is basically looked at as the sum of all processes going on in your body necessary to sustain life. And that sounds very vague because it's a very vague term. And to this date, we don't really understand what controls it. We know what the workers are, but we don't really know why they show up some days and why they don't show up other days. And by that I mean, why do some people have faster metabolisms than others? Like, we all hate that one guy who can eat whatever he wants and stays slim. That used to be me, not so much anymore, but that's just age. But we're going to control it as much as we can, and I'm going to show you how. Next up, hormones. And primarily for this series, we will focus on insulin and cortisol. There's several others, like thyroid is considered the master hormone. But insulin and cortisol, those are 2 hormones that I want to focus on because both of those hormones, if you increase insulin, you'll gain weight. If you increase cortisol, you get Cushing's disease, you'll gain weight. If you have low cortisol, you'll lose weight. If you have lower insulin, you're gonna die. No, I'm kidding. But you'll lose weight. And so by controlling these, we don't want to lose one or gain one too much, but we want to control our normal baseline levels. And you can do that via diet, exercise, and sleep, fasting. But we'll incorporate fasting a little bit more later, and that's a big topic. So I don't want you to just go off the rails with all this information. Again, today's an overview. Next up, activity level. That's a very basic term, and what I mean by activity level is how much you're moving throughout the day. And maybe you have a step counter with your Fitbit or your iWatch or something along those lines, but in general, I'm just talking about how much you're doing stuff throughout the day. Our next topic is resistance training. And for the sake of these videos, I want you to associate resistance training with weight training or band training. Any type of training or moving your joints through a range of motion with any form of resistance, be it weight, bands, And for some people, that might just be gravity in the beginning. But again, we got to start somewhere, right? So next up, we have diet. That's going to be quite a big video, maybe even its own series. But for right now, I just want you to associate diet with what goes in your mouth. Food, water, and we're going to dive in a little bit more. We're going to talk about the macros, everything, fiber, all that, break it all down. Because it needs to be something that we do dive into a little bit more, but I don't believe it's something that everyone needs to be overwhelmed with. And furthermore, with diet, I'm going to show you guys how to go to the store, how to buy things on a budget, because we're all on a budget. And not everybody can go to Whole Foods or wherever it is and spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars on these supposedly healthier foods. That's controversial. Next up is fasting. Fasting, we do it every day when we sleep. It's a pretty big fad right now. Intermittent fasting, alternate day fasting. What does it mean? What does it do? You're going to find out a lot. And stress, our final topic on what controls weight loss. Now, stress is something that everybody is going to have no matter what. And if you don't, we don't like you. I'm kidding. We like you here. But I want to show you how the way you perceive stress and deal with stress can actually have quite a significant role on how your body handles that stress. So we're going to talk about that, and I'm also going to give you some practices and some techniques to reduce stress. And for everybody, it's going to be different, and you're not going to get it right the first time, and if you do, great. But I'm going to present enough options that hopefully by the end of this, you'll be able to successfully reduce stress in as minimal amount of time, because we all have all the stuff we want to do. So next up, the reasons for wanting to lose weight. The why. Why do you want to lose weight? Is it personal reasons? Is it just a decision that you made? Or were you talking to your significant other and they just were, hey, you know, honey, yeah, nobody wants to have that conversation. Probably not the best idea to have it. But if you do, great. Is it for work? Are you trying to have some type of performance? You know, are you a coach? Things of that nature. Whatever the reason may be, it's very important to address it and to focus on that, because it plays a big part in the next topic, which would be motivation. And for motivation, there's two basic principles to hone in on. What will get you started and what will keep you going? And they're not always the same. Sometimes they are, and they change. So what gets somebody into the gym January 1st? Oh, I want to work out. You know, but then obviously whatever that motivation or driver wasn't good enough to keep them going, because the vast majority of people stop. They stop. Go to the gym February 1st. It's a lot clearer. You know, people just start funding gyms, just call it donations, you know. But that's how a lot of gyms operate on, you know. If everybody who had a membership to Planet Fitness went, there wouldn't be enough weights for everybody. So we'll talk about how to get going, how to get started, the baby steps you need, because for some people it might be as simple as standing up in a chair 10 times, you know. You gotta start somewhere, and we're gonna go way back. We're gonna pull the reins, and we're gonna start in the very, very beginning, and I will teach you how to progressively do more and more. And once you get going, we're gonna keep you going, right? So next up on this list is time frame. I want you to think about how long did it take you to get where you are. And if you're really happy where you are, then that's great. I don't know, if you just want to watch for fun, go for it. But most of us we have a way in our head or a time in our brain where we're like, man, I really liked how I was at that time, or I really liked how I was at this time. And for years, you just say, oh, I slipped. You know, I was gaining a little bit of weight. We had a kid, so work got real busy. And the next thing I knew, I looked in the mirror and here I am. And why am I bringing this up? Because when you're trying to change yourself, trying to change your habits, your weight, and yourself, your overall health, it's generally going to take almost as long as it took to get you there, right? And that's not a bad thing. So let's say in 5 years, you gain 30 pounds. You can lose that 30 pounds in 1 year, no problem. But losing it in 2 or 3 weeks, not very sustainable at all. And there's quite a few things that go on with your metabolism whenever you massively calorically restrict yourself. So, and you can calorically restrict yourself with diet, Or you can exercise so much that you're in such a deficit, and by deficit, I mean you are consuming significantly less calories than your body needs to function, your basal metabolic rate. That goes back up to metabolism. So again, we're going to dive into all of this. The moral of this is it's going to take a little bit of time, but don't focus so much on the destination. Focus on the journey. You're going to learn a lot along the way. You're going to learn how to exercise. You're going to learn how to stretch. You're going to learn things about your body that you never even paid attention to. And who knows, maybe along the way you'll make some new friends or start going to the gym or even just for walks with somebody else. And that can contribute to de-stressing. There's lots of ways that we can use this, but understand that the longer it takes, the more sustainable these results will be. I mean, just look at The Biggest Loser. It's like 95% or more of those people gain all the weight back in a very short amount of time. Because whenever you lose so much weight so fast, your body, I don't like to say this, but maybe a starvation mode, that's kind of the term that people generally, they throw around. It bounces right back. And the important point of that before we move on is when you lose weight rapidly, the faster you lose weight, the more likely it is to be more muscle. The slower you lose weight, and again, we're gonna incorporate some diet tips to help shove it this way. You'll lose primarily fat and keep your muscle because muscle makes you feel good, right? And so anyway, moving on, maintaining. And how do we maintain these results? How do we maintain continuing on with this? We use our motivation, but also we're going to develop habits, good habits. And it's not going to be this huge list. I'm going to say you need to do 5 of these a week, 6 of these next week, 7 of these the week before. No. We are going to use principles, basic principles, and apply them to our life on a daily basis. So, for instance, one principle that you could take the stairs. I'm going to take the stairs. If I'm going up 3 or 4 less floors, I'll take the stairs. And if you have a job that you take the elevator every day, maybe take the elevator to 5 floors below where you're going, for instance, and then walk the rest. That adds up, and that can go up to activity level and increase it. So we're going to work on these daily decisions. I'm going to show you how to incorporate them into your daily life. And hopefully at the end of all this, you don't need me anymore, and we can just call it a day because you're going to be on the right track to getting healthier, right? So again, a little overview of what's to come in the future. Threw out some terms, hopefully not too overwhelming for you, and you'll hear all of these again and again and again as we continue forward. So if you like the video, please like and subscribe. Continually working on improving the quality of this. And eventually I will have an audio-only podcast for those of you who'd rather listen to it maybe on your way to work or on the treadmill or something like that. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me at freshstart.ask@gmail.com. Have a great day, everybody. See you next time.